Ready for a digital dive? You're listening to the GZ Chop Shop Podcast, the weekly tech and gaming media podcast that breaks down the latest news, lore, and more. So plug in, because the GZ Chop Shop starts now.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of the GZ Chop Shop Podcast. I am your host, Project Itachi, joined by my good friend and co-host, War Nurse. And oh boy, we got a special episode for you. And we have a special guest. You have heard her lovely voice on the award-winning game, Baldur's Gate 3, performing songs such as Down by the River and fan favorite, Raphael's Final Act. She has also taken to stage in various Bulgarian theater musical productions, such as Belle from Beauty and the Beast and Morticia Addams in the Addams Family, just to name a few. Let's give a warm welcome to Mariya. Thank you so much for joining us on our podcast. I always have a little story to share before we get into the episodes, especially when we have amazing guests like yourself. When I first sent the initial email, it was a cold email. I was scared because we're all fans of Baldur's Gate 3. And I was like, you know, it would be really great because we loved the music from the game. And I was like, man, it would really be awesome if we could get one of the lead vocalists on the show. And the guys, they were like, yeah, that would be cool. And then that was it from them. They were like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And that was it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to send an email. So I send off the email and I was like panic mode. I was like, is she actually going to read this email? She probably gets like a million emails. There's no way she's going to read this email. And at the time I had sent it, I was like, oh, okay, you know, she's probably busy, didn't get the email. And then I finally, in the corner of my screen, just like when we had Donna on, I see the pop-up of a reply. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry I'm so late. I would love to be on the show. And I lost it. I was like, I didn't know what to do with my hands. I was so excited. I went to the group chat and I was like, guys, she said she's going to be on the show. So I am super excited, if you can't tell. So once again, thank you so much. Yes, everyone, I geeked out. You can clip that. I geeked out. So obviously everyone is, you know, going to be curious about your work in Baldur's Gate 3 as one of the lead vocalists. Right from the gate, I'm just curious, how did you get to work on such a amazing game? How did you get to work with Larian Studios on that?
I will answer. First of all, thank you so much, Greg. Thank you for the email. I remember reading it. It was some months back. I think it was during preparation for the concert in London. And everything was like rehearsals. Everything was panicking because it's a big royal festival hall. It's I don't know what the capacity is, but I think more than 4,000, 5,000 people. And me and the other lead singer, Ilona, we were stressing out, so we couldn't really reply to anything. But then after, you know, everything calmed down, I was really excited to write. And I'm very thankful for the invitation to this podcast and to be able to speak to you guys and share stories and discuss the last year or the last 2 years of my life. Daniel, sorry.
It's okay. I'm on the side here. You're good. I'm like French fries. I'm on the side. You don't have to finish it.
And
save it for later.
Work. I had a video uploaded from my premiere as Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and it was mostly mistakes from the premiere because I could see them, and a lot of them were very funny. For example, we had to do have you guys watched Beauty and the Beast? Mm-hmm. Well, the final scene where the villagers, they're all gonna rally up and they're gonna kill the beast, and I show them the mirror. No, he's kind, you know, show me the beast, and I'm showing them the beast. And that scene comes, you know, it's nearing, and I'm on stage, and I look at my hand, and I realize that I forgot the mirror somewhere off stage, somewhere backstage. So I ran off. I have like 10 seconds before my next line. I ran off the stage. I was running with my big yellow dress. I tore it in like 5 parts, and wow. I found the mirror, and I Gaston, the guy, he told me, oh, I was already thinking of how I'm going to improvise that you died or something happened to Belle and she's just not here. And I ran on stage at the exact same moment and I threw the mirror and it was really funny. And other like moments like this from the premiere. And it had a little bit of singing from the song There's Been a Change in Me. This one is specific. It's special for the musical. It's not in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I uploaded it. And I got, I don't know if it was a Facebook message or on Viber. That's what we use in Bulgaria. It was from Borislav. It was an invitation for an audition for the soundtrack. So it was like a personal message from him, which I then realized that that's what Ilona also got. He just scrolls sometimes. The way that he finds people is he hears you somehow. For example, Ilona, he heard her on Bulgaria's Got Talent or The Voice or one of these formats because she was in it. And he heard it through the TV and then he wrote her. So he wrote me if I wanted to audition for a new game that he couldn't really tell me a lot of details for it. And I knew exactly from the moment that the message popped up, I knew who he was because I had, in my Spotify playlist, I already had Sing For Me from Divinity Original Sin 2 and a couple more songs from that soundtrack. So I had heard them and I knew that they were in all of the Tavern mixes and playlists in Spotify. And I said, yeah, of course, yes. When can we do it? I immediately canceled everything that I immediately canceled everything that I had going on. No, bye. Performances, no, bye. And that's how it happened. I went there. We tried Down by the River. We're gonna work on that. You can go home and rehearse it, and you can come back, and we're gonna see if it's gonna work. Because we have a big audition because this is a very important song. Like there's a lot of important people. And I'm like, okay, we're going to try it. And he says, okay, well, since you came here and I don't want to waste your time, there's this new song. And he pulled up Song of Baldur, which plays in the third act in Elf Song Tavern. And we immediately did it from the first time. He says, yeah, okay, this is great. We finished the job in maybe 1 hour. And I went home and then I came back the next week to retry for Down by the River. And he really liked it. So we just finished it. And that's that, audition closed, canceled. Nobody else needed necessary.
You nailed it the first time. You nailed it, and they're like, "That's it.
That's
all we need right there. Perfect." Second time.
I getting an email from someone you recognize like that. I understand that feeling. When, like I said, when I saw your name pop up and then when we had Donna Burke on and her name had popped up and I was just like, whoa. And it was just like, yep, everything else on hold. This right now, we have to take care of this right now.
Yeah, we have to do this.
So this was your, I'm guessing, your first interaction with voice acting?
Yes, first time. I've done some recording at home with my cheap Charlotte microphone. I actually have it uploaded on YouTube. I have a version of Passing of the Elves from Lord of the Rings, which is the song that they sing. It's me. I'm like 22. I'm still like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what a microphone is, but I tried and I uploaded it and it's still up if you guys want to go and check it out.
Yes.
It's the song that they sing when they pass to the other land.
I geeked out because Lord of the Rings is like, I will die on this hill. It is, I personally think it's one of the most amazing pieces of modern day literature.
Absolutely.
And I loved the movies.
Go on, I'm listening.
So when you said that, that's why I was like, oh, you have a version of one of these songs? So yeah, oh my God.
He just geeked.
It's Aragorn's sword.
Yep.
That is amazing.
It looks really good. It's from, I think, Timo or Shein or some weird. My boyfriend got it.
Good for that.
But it looks really
it
good
looks
for
amazing.
That. It feels like a LARP sword because they're like soft. So when you hit someone, they don't sue you.
Yeah.
Well, and
But yes.
if I'm not mistaken, I think I read you're actually trained in sword and archery.
Well, trained as in sword. I had to train for it for Beauty and the Beast. So we had like a month and a half. We had intense courses with this guy who actually teaches in acting universities. He teaches actors how to play fight. So it looks super dramatic. It looks cool, but you're not actually like hitting each other. And archery, I'm an archer at LARP, and I've been doing LARP for many years. We use like the ends of our arrows are they're soft, so that if I hit you in the face, nothing happens.
Also, don't get sued.
Also, don't get sued. But yeah, they're part of my hobbies. I haven't like professionally gone or done any training, but it's something that I do very often because of that. Because at LARP, I'm always like a ranger. I'm running around and I'm shooting things, and I have to be accurate. I am accurate most of the time.
Just something you do when you're not hanging out at the tavern in the woods.
I was just about to say, right before she gets to the tavern in the woods, taking a few
confidently drinks out of her cool cup.
So you mentioned LARPing, and I have always been curious. I unfortunately, I live in the city, or as I call it, the concrete jungle. So LARPing opportunities are almost non-existent where I am. And I've always been curious about the LARPing experience.
What city do you live in?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm gonna find out if I can LARP, guys. Who would love a podcast episode of me running around with a sword that's probably too big for me?
There is this one. It's in Canada, and it's called Vocalist. And I dream of going there, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen because it's very, very far away. But it's in they're states, right? In Canada.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Does Canada have state? Because I'm in the U.S.
So it's this. Okay.
I think they're more like I don't know, like not territories, but like
territory.
Canada just has puzzle pieces. Okay.
Canada has like they just got their dividing lines, and you just go where you think you want to be.
Oh God, I can hear the comments now.
Oh man,
rightfully so.
Canada, we're sorry. We don't know.
Very sorry, Canada.
It's in English is not my first language, so I don't know how to pronounce it. It's in Quebec.
Canada.
Quebec. Yeah. So that's where it is. Which I don't know if it's close to you guys, but it's
not at all.
No, I don't regularly go to Canada, but I'm aware. I'm aware of it.
That would be dedication. That is definitely an airplane ride.
Yeah.
So
I live in Texas, so that's definitely an airplane ride.
For you, it's not doable. But it's like it's very beautiful because they have an entire city built, an entire medieval city, which everything's like, it has houses, it has huts. Like you go in there and it's big. And of course, no technology, no nothing. And the LARP there, it's sort of a Renaissance fair, sort of a LARP, because you can be like immersive into the whole fights and everything, but you can just walk around and have fun and eat and drink. And it's in Quebec, yeah, Vocalist. It's like 10 days, so it's very long. And
excuse me for a minute. I just need to save this before I forget, because I really want to like look at this and check this out later. I might have a reason to go to Canada now.
There's a YouTuber, Momo O'Brien. She has a lot of videos. I think 2 or 3 videos of her experience there. And her whole channel is dedicated to LARP events and all sort of escapism and all that sort. But it's fun. It's a fun hobby because, I don't know, it's like level 1 is gaming, and then level 2 you take it from the game into like a room where you play D&D, and then the next level is just you go to the woods and you play D&D in real life.
I feel like I've been living my life wrong.
I did not know that there was levels to it like
Nor
that.
I did not either.
Well, there aren't. That's how I'm putting it in my mind, because each one requires more out of you, because you have to, in D&D, you have to act out your character while sitting down. So your face and your words, and then LARPing, you are entirely that character 24/7 for as many days as you need to be. So you're role playing all the time.
That is so cool.
It's cool. We can have like another whole video about LARP, and we can invite other people, and we can like give you guys an introduction to it.
That would be amazing.
Please. New podcast episode idea, introduction into LARPing.
Introduction into LARPing.
I need that.
I just remembered, back to Baldur's Gate 3. Third thing, after a big third thing I did.
Partially our fault. We tend to branch out everywhere.
Yeah, that's a problem, because we're all like this. No one can keep us grounded.
Yep.
The third one I did was, apart from others that are like just backup vocals, or for example the harpy song, where it's two harpies and I'm singing and then the other girl is singing, and we're like doing a whole dance together. Bobby invited me to the studio for this new thing, but it's going to be like more belting, more like rock and roll. And I'm like, oh, what's this going to be? And I go there, and he just says, well, most of it is already recorded, because we recorded with the voice actor. He's not usually a singer, but I'm like, oh, okay, we're gonna hear this. And then he played Raphael's final act with just Andrew's vocals, and I knew that this was gonna be people were gonna love this so much. First of all, the fact that he's not musically trained, and he nails everything. He's like he plays it exactly like a Disney or musical theater villain. It's just so good. And even without me even being part of the song, it sounded so good. And
it's the passion. You can hear the passion in it.
It's so naughty. It's such an evil, naughty song.
It is.
When you said Disney villain vibes, it made me think of I can't remember the villain's name, but Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Frollo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
His one, Hellfire.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's who comes to mind. And it's such a good piece. Like, I can listen to that, like when I'm doing, my RPG gaming. That's on my playlist, and it just always comes on at the right time. Like it's like it's the perfect boss music.
Well, and it's it makes it even better. There's almost an arrogance for the character to sing and with such passion your own boss music.
That song gives goosebumps every time.
And for the concert in London, Borislav previously, he says, "Oh, Andrew, he's not like available, so we're gonna rehearse this, the two of us." And I was rehearsing it with Borislav Slavov. He's a composer of the soundtrack. I'm saying for the viewers. He's also Bulgarian, and we were rehearsing it, the two of us. I was singing my parts, and he was singing Raphael's parts, and that's how I thought that it was going to be for the concert. And then we're in London, and we're during a general rehearsal with the orchestra and the conductor and everything. And we're singing, me and Ilona. She's singing Weeping Dawn, I'm singing Down by the River. And then Andrew Wincott, he comes in and he sits on this little chair. And I'm like, what is he doing here? Is he watching? Is he like being supportive? He's
just random. You just noticed he's just randomly there.
He's just randomly there, and he's watching the rehearsal. And I'm like, oh, very nice. Like, he's here to support us, and he's gonna, like, because he lives in London, I think. And then Raphael's final act comes up, and he stands up, and he's advancing, and I'm like,
Were you geeking out?
I was geeking out so much. I'm actually going to perform it live with him, like it is in the recording, and it was so epic. It was so epic. The next day, because nobody was expecting it, and the audience were amazing. There were like many thousands of people, 80% of them in cosplay, like in full-on costumes. I think this stage, which usually has like classical performances, has not seen such a crowd ever. It was amazing. And they were like watching, and then in the end, Raphael's final act, it was like a bis, like an encore after the concert, because the concert's over, everyone's clapping, oh yeah, this is going to be it. And then he comes up on the stage and people, their jaws drop, and he's like, my, what manner of concert is this? And everyone goes wild. Everyone starts screaming, like you couldn't hear anything from the audience. Everybody went crazy. And then there wasn't even a music before that. He says that, and I'm immediately, lives, oh mortal lives. It was...
I can't imagine what it would have been like to see that live and just happening. That is so cool.
And, you know, hearing your experience as one of the, you know, performers there, and even you were just like starstruck. I always wondered, I'm like, man, do the people performing get starstruck in their, you know, in their own performances when they get to sing with like one of their favorite idols or something? And just hearing that, I'm like, man, it's just an entire concert. Everyone's starstruck. There's
even, because videos weren't allowed, I think, but someone snuck a video, and it's from an angle where you can see me, Andrew, Borislav, and behind everyone backstage, but you can see her, is Ilona, the other singer. And while we're singing, she's completely visible, and she's like doing a whole cheer routine. She's like, and all of the comments are, oh, I just love this random lady at the back who's just going wild. She's all of us.
In
she's
the
all
moment.
of our, yeah. And it was cool. I hope there's going to be more, because it's such a good, it's beautiful music. It has a BAFTA for best music. It needs to be heard. There need to be more performances.
It sounds like you are more than willing to take on more roles in the future, whether it's with Larian Studios or another similar kind of game.
Absolutely. I need for that to happen, I need to go to cons, like conventions, and actually meet people, which I'm trying to do. I've done a couple of smaller ones, but they're really nice, with people who I actually met at the concert afterwards, and they're going to come out. One of them is Hollow Hero, which is about this wombat, and it's a girl wombat, and it's like medieval fantasy, but you're playing with a wombat, and the wombat's like a knight wombat, and she's like fighting with, it's really cute. And I did like a Bulgarian style choir for that, so I did all of the voices, and it was really cool because when they sent it to me, it was syllables from the program. So I get digital vocal lines, and then I redo them, and I asked them if they wanted me to just add Bulgarian, text. And they're like, yeah, that sounds really good if you can do it. So I sat down and I wrote the Bulgarian lyrics for this song, and I added them and I recorded them. So I just randomly added Bulgarian into a video game that has, but no, the sound itself, I think they had studied Bulgarian choir, like traditional Bulgarian choir music, because it sounds very specific, and it's going to sound really good. If you guys remember, a Bulgarian choir sung Brother Bear, the transformation scene. Do you remember the music?
Which act was that?
Brother Bear. It's at the beginning when his it's by Disney, right? Brother Bear. I don't remember if it's a Disney film.
Oh yes.
Oh, Brother.
No, I know what you're talking about now.
I wasn't thinking Disney at the moment.
What am I?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
No, I'm just this is our brains.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Brother Bear, his brother gets. well, he transforms into a bear, the main character.
Yeah.
He's and it's really cool. And then you can hear a Bulgarian choir singing, and it sounds super magical. So this is one of the projects that I did for the video game, not for Brother Bear by Disney. And another one is a game. It's really cute. It's economics. So it's economics, but you're gnomes, and you have gnomes, and you're like creating a whole economy with your gnomes, and they're like digging for.
This is a game?
Yeah, this is a game. Well, it's gonna be coming out soon. I'll see when. They had a panel or something.
Economics. That's clever.
Yeah, and there's a specific.
You had me sold at gnomes.
Yeah. And there's
what they're doing doesn't matter.
They're
gnomes.
They're supporting their economy. They're supporting their gnome economy. It's perfect.
It's amazing.
And there's a specific boss fight there, which also has like choir type music, and I recorded that in my little home studio as well. What else? I'm having a cover come out with Lion Might, formerly known as String Player. He's a YouTube violinist, and he does covers of video games. And he contacted me if I wanted to do Sing for Me from Divinity Original Sing for the anniversary, because it's going to be in a couple of days, I think. And we did it, and we recorded Sing for Me, which is really cool because it's also, the song that, because of this song, I knew who Borislav was, and I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. And now, like 2 years later, it's coming out, and I'm excited about that. And future projects, I'm open. It's hard working without an agent, because everybody, I think, it's hard in Bulgaria to connect. Maybe the colleagues in London have agencies which they handle everything. They handle your appearances, going to cons, emails, whatever, communication with people. For me, I have to do all of that on my own, and I get stuck, and it's a lot harder, and it's a lot slower than it could be, but I'm still satisfied. I'm still happy.
I can
It
imagine
sounds like you're
that
doing very well without having someone there helping you, work through it.
So just out of curiosity, what would be a passion project for you? Something that you would absolutely love to do?
CD Projekt Red's next Witcher game would be.
Yes.
I would pass away.
I would pass away.
I would after I do the recordings. Like I would do them first, and then I can safely.
My life is complete.
Yeah, everything it's finished.
What is it? The hierarchy of life, like when you feel complete.
Yep.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red, The Witcher. I am a huge Witcher fan, and CD Projekt Red. If anyone from CD Projekt Red is watching this podcast, please grant her wish. We all want it. We all want it. We would love that. So, in terms of music, and correct me if I'm wrong in my research, you are mostly self-taught.
Sort of. My father, he's an opera singer, and it's a whole family of opera singers, which is why I didn't want to do opera singing, because I was feeling, I worked in an opera house and everybody was nice, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, they actually hate me and they think that I suck, but they're being nice to me because of my dad. So mentally, I just couldn't do it. And I started doing other types of music. Firstly, musical theater, and then recording stuff for games, movies, etc. So he taught me classically. I'm classically trained by him, so I can sing opera. And there's a lot of different ways to sing opera, but my dad, because he's currently like 52 or 53, I think, and his voice sounds exactly the same, even better than when he was my age. So the way that he teaches is a safe way to sing. So whatever you do, the way that the voice passes, it doesn't harm you. It doesn't, because a lot of people, they give it their super all at the beginning because they want to make like the biggest career ever. And then they sing for like 6 or 7 years, and afterwards their voice is gone forever. You can't fix that. And it's a very safe and how do you call it? Like solar panels. They're not self-sufficient, but renewable. No, I don't know. Oh, it's something, the way that the bass is in my class, in my vocal training, the bass that I have, which is what I have personally worked over for different styles. It's really good for me because one, it's safe. It doesn't harm me. It doesn't cause vocal fatigue. I don't get tired. It's also somehow, I don't know how he did it, but I can do pretty much everything without, it helps me a lot with different vocal techniques. For example, with jazz or with musical theater, belting from my throat, or specifically for these types of things like Baldur's Gate 3, like medieval fantasy music. It's perfect because somehow it just works for everything. I can do anything. That's why I could do the very like airy, breathy vocals in Harpy Song, and then Down by the River. It sounds a bit Evanescence or mixed with the medieval fantasy part. And then afterwards, I have to go and I have to use my throat singing, and I have to yell for Raphael's final act. And classical training makes it so I can do all of them. And the ultimate test was at the concert, because I had to do all of them in the span of an hour. Mm-hmm. Why did I say 2? In the span of an hour, and I managed to do it. So my dad provided me with a bass to protect my voice and to give me the ability to branch out into whatever style I want, because he always knew that I wasn't really into like a specific thing or opera specifically. And the other techniques I learned by listening to a lot of people. For example, Enya and Lorena McKenneth. I think that's Lorena McKenneth. I used to listen to a lot of concerts by Celtic Woman. It's this really beautiful ensemble, I think in Ireland or in Scotland. And they make these concerts, and it's these beautiful women with angelic voices, and they're singing. Sometimes they're singing Celtic songs, sometimes they're singing more classical songs, but it's very beautiful. And just by listening, I could create some sort of mix between all of these things that I'm inspired by. And so the specific sound of it is something that I taught myself.
Fun fact, even Daniel didn't know this. A long time ago, I had thought that about getting into singing, like actually singing, because people are like, oh, you got a deepish voice, you could probably do it. But I never took classes, and I used to hear people talk about like damaging your voice and having to learn how to do that. And one of my biggest things I never learned how to overcome, and I still laugh to myself about this, is I was like, how do people are they able to sing for so long, taking so much air and not yawn? I'm sorry, that's what I always had an issue. I would do my shower singing. I admit it. I would sing in the shower, and then so funny, and I'd start yawning, and I never could figure out how to overcome that.
I'm trying to figure out how those go together, but I'm not I'm not trained in any of that, so I don't know.
It's probably a me thing, because I'm like, there's so much voice control that goes into it, but has no one ever taken in so much air that you yawn?
Something else happens. Guess what it is? Something else happens when you take a lot of air into your stomach.
What? Oh, no.
I get the urge to burp constantly. This is when you've done your breathing, when you've trained it to be proper, so what it needs to be, and it uses your entire like instrument, your entire body as an instrument. I personally don't know how the others do it, but I've had performances where I have to like go away from the microphone and burp into my hands in the opera because it just, you breathe in, it goes into your lungs, but it also goes into your stomach, and
Right
your
into the
stomach
stomach.
Have you ever like accident, like you didn't quite get away from the
away
microphone?
in time.
On stage, I haven't done it. But well, at the beginning when I start in an opera house, for example, the one that I'm in right now, I know how they are because it's like more sophisticated, whatever, and I try to be. But when I get comfortable with a colleague and I know that they're chill, sometimes I pass them and I just burp into their ear.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, and everybody's always like, "What the hell just happened?" So I've never had it like on stage or in front of important people until for now. Hopefully, it's not going to happen.
Thank you for making me feel better. Daniel was looking at me crazy when I was talking about the yawning.
No,
I was just surprised. That's all.
It's a thing, man. You should try singing sometime. You'll understand.
For the sake of my neighbors, no.
What did you like singing? You have a deeper voice, so like a baritone or maybe I think you're a baritone.
Honestly, I wouldn't know how to I don't like want to misclassify myself. I just tried to take notes that were lower, that played to my voice, because I know I can't do anything. At least I think I can't do anything higher notes. So anything that took my natural voice, because most people we don't speak from the diaphragm like we're supposed to. So I try to get in there and get my deep voice, and songs like I don't want to say because not rock, even though it's one of my favorite genres, but any song that had a little bass to it. Usually video game soundtracks were perfect for that because they have someone come in that have like a little bass to their voice.
Yeah.
And I would try to imitate those, and then I start yawning. Yeah. But I never gave up my dream. I just didn't act on it.
Well, now you know that you're lucky in the yawning department. It could be worse.
See? Thank you. Now I feel better. Everyone who's laughing at me, you see?
But you need to do it. You need to sing at home. You need to be, I think the most important thing is be comfortable with what's coming out of your mouth. And just that way the vocal cords and everything, you get used to the sound. I think singing is nice. I don't think you need to be, like sometimes to make my friends comfortable when they're singing, I start to sing like super terrible out of tune so that we can all just make ugly noises, so that, because it doesn't have to be, especially from the beginning, you don't have to produce like something beautiful. You just need to feel comfortable with your own voice, and especially with people. I get lightheaded. Sometimes I have little blackouts before I have to go out on stage and sing in front of people. It's very stressful. Sometimes I have to take something to relax, something normal from from a drugstore, not like.
I'm a registered nurse. No judgment here.
All right. But you're always going to be stressed out about singing in front of people. But I think it's really nice. I think it's therapeutic. And I think you don't have to like go to specific classes. You can do it from home. You just need to always make sure that you don't feel any pressure here, that you don't feel that it's tightening, or that you're tightening your body and trying to force the sound out. It needs to be relaxed so that it's like a tube, like your body's a tube, and it's just coming out naturally. So as long as you don't feel any pressure, you're not going to damage your voice on your own if you're singing at home and you're doing exercises. So I think you should do that.
Well, we can revisit in a year and see if I've made any progress.
Yes.
I really need like one day for Greg to, like, we're just hanging out, maybe we're playing a game or some D&D, and he just busts out like
in song.
Like a glorious like Disney song out of nowhere.
Which one was it? Scar's song from Lion King. Be prepared.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
You can do that. Be prepared.
Be prepared. Yeah, I maybe one day I'll.
Those notes were where they should be.
See, look at you. I've been telling this guy for years that he needs to be working on. He has a good voice for voice acting and work. He just, I don't know. He won't do it.
I honestly, I just don't know where to start. That's a huge step. So, and just like her, you got to audition and hope. And
I'm going to send you, cause my dad's a baritone as well. It's a deep voice, but it's not like the one where, it's so low that you can't hear it. Those are the basses. But usually vocal exercises for basses and baritones, they're the same. So I'm going to record some and I'm just going to send them to you so you can, I don't know, you have something to follow up.
Oh, I'd appreciate it. I would definitely take to that. And if I could, get some practice, then when I'm on stage, I can be given my thank yous and then be like, and hopefully, CD Projekt Red, we haven't forgotten about you. Make the Witcher happen. Just throwing that in there. Subliminal messaging.
Also, I just noticed that I'm doing this a lot. I'm doing it because in Bulgaria, this is yes.
Means yes.
And this is no, but I'm also used to this being yes. So when I'm saying yes, I always do this and then this afterwards. So it's both of them.
So guys, she's not disagreeing with us. They're probably like, man, she really just doesn't get. She's not agreeing with them.
She just doesn't know what she doesn't know what she wants. What is this?
So, on another curious note, since you do LARPing and you do music, and I'm sure people when you go and do LARPing, they know you. Have you ever done like tavern singing? Because before we started the show and we were talking about the tavern, in my head I was like, have you ever done tavern singing? You guys just get around and like you're sharing your in character stories, and you've had that? Can you tell us about that? Because that's like something I would love to experience in person one day.
First LARP was 2020, so 4 years ago. There was an evening, and then that's 4 years ago, so it wasn't so hot. So they allowed us to build our own fires. Now we're not allowed to have fires at LARP because the woods are gonna burn down.
Oh no!
Yeah. So we had this big fire, and it was a city. It was like wooden built around us, and in the middle there was a city, and in the middle there was a fire, and it was evening, and there was always this guy. He owns Zdravko. He owns a board game bar in Sofia, which is really nice. And he's in charge of the tavern at LARP. So we were all drinking like mead or beer, and I didn't know the people then because I went on my own. Nobody invited me. I just saw the event. Oh, LARP. And I grabbed a bus. Oh no, I grabbed a train, and then I hiked like half an hour into the woods. And I found these people, and they have their ears, and I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And they started singing. They were singing the le 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 from The Witcher 3, and I joined in, and that was my first tavern experience, and it was really cool because everybody was singing together. We had people with bouzoukis, like with Irish bouzoukis. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people with drums. There was a person with a shaman drum. So a lot of musicians come and they bring their instruments. And we've been doing it, I've been part of it for pretty much every year that I've been there. And last year, I think I wasn't there, but they had a whole tavern contest thingy where they had different artists come up and sing and perform whatever they want. And this year I was at LARP July. We did it again. We sang a lot of Bulgarian folklore songs, but we witcherized them, so we make them sound more how do you call it?
Immersive?
No, more pagan. Yeah, because there's also a Bulgarian pagan religion which was before Christianity, which was then deleted by Christianity. So we don't know how our music sounded then. Mm-hmm. But we can just we try to sort of recreate it by taking Bulgarian folklore and adding the same sort of sound that Northern paganism has to their music. I don't know. I don't think that's how it sounded, but that's how it sounds to us because we don't have any other way to know. And just Tavern it's super cool because everybody's in costume. People are, it's never like people are standing there and just listening to you. People are having conversations. People on one table are talking about, oh, we have to go, like they're hexers, so they hunt beasts. And they're like, oh, I saw this poster about this thing that's killing people in the woods. We gotta assemble and go kill that thing. We have to take its head off. And they're talking about that. Other people are, oh, nobody's visiting the brothel because nobody has money this year. And brothel is massages. So you go in and they just give you a massage and then you pretend that you are at the brothel.
At the brothel.
Well, it's cool because everybody needs massages because everybody's fighting all day and running around. So it's really nice for your health. And everybody's just having different conversations at different tables, and you're singing your thingy, and people join in. We have 10 people with these big drums. So when there's fights, I love them because there's tournaments or there's fights, and all of them just assemble and they start doom 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 doom. It sounds so epic. So there are taverns. I do sing in the evening at the tavern.
The more I learn about LARPing, the more I want to do it so bad.
You can start with a Ren fair because I think every city in America has a Renaissance fair.
Yeah. You can always come down to Texas. We have 2 every year. And I always go to one. It's in Melethiel, Texas, out in the middle of nowhere. But it's I
think I follow that one on Instagram, the Texas Ren Fair.
I know in PA we have a few, but they're out in the middle of nowhere. And I wouldn't want to do them alone because I like having these kind of experiences and sharing them with friends. But I know none of my friends here would do that. So I probably would have to hop the plane and go to Texas to partake, but because I love, and Daniel is of the same mind as I am, fantasy. It's so much to fantasy that's attractive. The cultures we create, the music that comes with it, the imagination that's behind fantasy, mythical creatures and the
adventure and unknown,
and the venturing into the unknown. It's one of my favorite genres across all medias, movies, video games, music, and to get to live that imagination at least once while I'm physically able to do so would just be amazing. I don't know why, but I asked the tavern singing question because that is just something I would have always wanted to experience for some reason, to just go in and see all of these adventurers telling their tales and then someone busting out into song and everyone cheer. And it's all right, now let's go to the quest board and see what we got to do today.
There are issues. Sometimes everything's super immersive and then someone starts playing Wonderwall on his guitar and everybody just gets up and kicks them out because it's
Which?
Or someone drinks a bit too much and starts talking about modern politics and it just...
Oh no.
This is what we're literally here because we don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
At least for a little bit,
Right.
So
I was going to say something I forgot.
We'll come back at the most random time. So you do LARPing, you've worked on video games, and I know a lot of people that work on video games don't actively play video games. You also a gamer?
Yeah, I've never played the big multiplayers. I like story-driven single players. When I was 7 and my dad, because he's still a gamer. But then he would go to these, because he's an opera singer, he would go to these tours, around the world, and he would always bring his, and he had both Zelda games, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, he had Star Wars games, he had Castlevania, he had a lot of these, and he would just play around, like him and his colleagues, they'd rehearse and they'd go back to their hotel rooms and they would play that. Afterwards, they were all really into World of Warcraft, but that's the first, when I was 7, that's the first game that I played. I played Ocarina of Time. I played Majora's Mask. Then when I was still a kid, he bought the GameCube to play Twilight Princess. And afterwards, the first game series that I played is Legend of Zelda. It's most of my childhood. I love it. I haven't played the new ones. I haven't played Breath of the Wild. What's
Tears of the Kingdom?
Tears of the Kingdom. Because I started, I'm gonna buy a Switch soon, but I realized that I was buying Nintendo consoles just to play Legend of Zelda, and I wasn't using it to play anything else because that's the only one that was super interesting to me. And I'm a kid, and I I save up money and I buy a Wii and I play Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And I realized that I gave a lot of money for this console just to play these
just to play the Zelda games.
And I'm just replaying them for 10 times because I don't have anything else. So I don't know, I suppose I missed out on the new ones, but I will be playing them because I love the series. Afterwards, we had a family guild, World of Warcraft guild. It was me, my dad, my uncle, his wife, and my cousin, and his wife's brother and her kid. So it was a big World of Warcraft guild. I was 10, so I wasn't good. I was holding them back, but they were like, "Oh, Mariya, it's gonna be fine." My cousin, she was 9, and she was better than all of them. She was crazy. I don't know how she was so good. But I was flop. I had a troll. Her name was Trolleya. I don't know why. But until now, I like to get back into it and do quest runs. I don't like to grind a lot in these games, but I do like World of Warcraft doing a quest run because it's like a story and you're traveling around with, if you have someone to do it with, it's really fun. I like the BioShock series. I like Dishonored. Dishonored is one of my favorite game series. I even like the third one, Death of the Outsider. I like horror games. I like Outlast. The Resident Evil games, Silent Hills games are cool. I can't remember anything now. I'm currently playing for the 3rd year Dead by Daylight with a friend of mine because it's really fun getting chased around by killers and dying because I've been playing it for 3 years and I'm horrible, but I just continue. Witcher games, obviously, and Dragon Age. I love Dragon Age. Mm-hmm. I love romancing because it's not just added you're romancing this person. It's intertwined into the story always. Every romance that you have, and it has an impact on the story, which I really like. And I'm excited about the new game. I liked the last 2, so I don't think my standards are very high because. A lot of people, they're like, "Oh, Origins, that's the best one." And then 2 and Inquisition, they're not as good. But for me, they're all good. I love all of them. When did you guys start playing games? What's the first thing you remember? How old were you?
I vividly remember being about 6-ish when I first started playing on a Super Nintendo. I had Link to the Past, Zelda, and then from there, mainly story-driven games. As I got older, I think we all kind of similar there. As I got older, I did get really into FromSoft games. I really like the Dark Souls, as challenging as they are. And then I don't know if you've ever played any Lord of the Rings.
I was watching my boyfriend. He made me. Well, he didn't force me to do it. I enjoyed it, but he played Shadow of Mordor.
That's the one I was about to mention.
The Nemesis system.
It's kind of random, but one of my favorite things in that game is the dialogue with orcs. They say the most funny things to me whenever you're interacting with them, or you kill one, or just like whatever you're doing, and they kind of like make fun of you, and they say things at you, and it's just really funny to me.
I remember that did leave an impression. The voice acting was really good. It felt very organic every time they. I don't know. It was well made, and it's what year was the game released? I think it was a bit older.
It's like, what is it, like
2014? I think.
I was gonna say it's like about 10 years old. Yeah. I think it still holds up though.
It holds up. It holds up. It looks great.
I definitely played a lot of World of Warcraft. And then Elden Ring was a big one that came out the past few years that me and him got really into that game. And then just along those lines, and horror games as well. I think Greg is huge on Resident Evil. I haven't played Resident Evil quite as much as he has. Silent Hill is definitely probably one of my favorite horror games.
They need to make more of those, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of a niche area because the lore is very spread out. The Silent Hill games are not in any, like, they're all connected, but they're not made in any chronological order. So unless you're really paying attention to the lore, you may not catch on, and it might just be confusing.
And we did a lore episode on Silent Hill. It kind of was
about a year ago or so.
We did I went down a rabbit hole for Silent Hill because I love the horror games, but I love the stories that's behind them. And Silent Hill has one of the most robust lore-based stories covering different types of folklore and religious aspects. And it created, Silent Hill. And a lot of people, they can't fully appreciate the games without understanding the story of why Silent Hill exists in the first place and how old Silent Hill lore-wise actually is. We're talking hundreds of years.
It's connected to real world events. Yeah. I think that's so cool when games do stuff like that.
Know anything about the Silent Hill lore? I've watched a lot of videos about the Resident Evil lore because there's a lot of those, and it's it's chronological. It's very easy to catch. Silent Hill, no. I remember. Is there any news on PT? Because that was terrifying.
PT is never gonna happen, unfortunately. Which that's kind of Konami's fault. They messed up a good opportunity. With two amazing people, Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. So they dropped the ball because PT probably would have been a really good starting point for a lot of people too for Silent Hill. Yeah, if you ever are curious, I would say check out the lore for Silent Hill. It is very, very interesting to see, especially when there's so many varying timelines that overlap, and it starts making the games make more sense. You're like, oh, that's why this happened. Oh, that's why this. Okay, cool. It all makes sense now. But yeah, I am a huge Resident Evil fan.
I'm gonna check your video on it.
Oh, okay. I think we titled it Silent Hill lore. I was really bad with titles a few years ago, but yeah, it's in there. We went in there and we really dove into it. But yeah, I really like Resident Evil. I don't remember when I got into Resident Evil, honestly. I actually wasn't into horror games when I was a kid. I stayed away from them. I think once I started getting into horror movies, then I got curious about horror games. And one game I couldn't play by myself for a while was a game called Fear.
Oh, yes.
Fear was, it lived up to the name. And I convinced myself to play it because I was like, Fear. And they were clever because they were like, oh, it stands for First Encounter Assault Recon. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out.
I haven't played this one, but it looks cool.
It's such a scary game. And to this day,
it reminds me of Slender, The Arrival a little bit, but maybe it's not. Oh, no. You're actually fighting. You actually have a gun.
You actually have a gun, but you would think that adds a layer of safety and security. It doesn't. And that's how fear gets you. The gunfights are probably the safest you'll feel. You're like, oh, it's a gunfight. I'm happy for this. And then when it's not a gunfight, you're like, that's not good. Things are bad. So,
Greg, I had to look it up because it's been a while, but the Silent Hill episode, this is the Spotify one, but it's November 2022, and it's called Welcome to Silent Hill. So it was 2 years ago.
I'll be back in 1 second, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. It feels like we did that just last year.
It does feel like we had done it,
because we do a Halloween special every year. Mm-hmm. So I guess
I'm back.
We did that one. Yeah, because that's right. We intended to do that one, but we had stuff going on, so it came out late, and that's why it came out in November that year. Yeah. Now I remember.
Yep.
Which one came out late?
Oh, the Silent Hill one we did. I don't know if it's on YouTube. It should be.
I didn't start. It might be, depending on when I had started rolling out the YouTube video versions of the podcast. It took me a while to come around to
Welcome to Silent Hill. I found it. Yeah, you have it.
Welcome to Silent Hill. Yeah, I dove into the lore as best as I could in the time I allowed.
If I remember correctly, Greg, I think most of that episode was me asking you questions.
Yeah,
because we had talked about doing it, but I love lore, but Greg is a lore master. If I have a question about something, he's like, he doesn't even have to look it up most of the time. He's just, and he connects the dots, and I'm like, what? So that I felt like I was the one interviewing him on our own show.
So, I know we actually got a request. Somebody, asked if we could do the lore on Warhammer and 40K, and I was like, it's extensive. Yes. But I'm willing to dive into it.
Oh yeah, that's something else I'm super nerdy about. I love the Warhammer universe. And then something that's even more niche that I don't think I've really met anybody in real life that
Battletech.
I love Battletech. There's like 1,500 years worth of lore, and I can sit down with someone if they let me, I can give them a summary.
You can hold a whole class on it.
I'm like, I could totally teach a class on Battletech. I feel like I could do a pretty good job.
I've only played Vermintide, where you kill rats. It's the only thing I know. Well, I know that people spend a lot of money on figurines, and they paint them themselves, they make them themselves, and they have these. We were doing a D&D live session thingy with some friends, and we went to make figurines for our characters. And the guys, they were specializing in Warhammer. And we went into the studio, and the studio was these huge tables, and on top there's terrain, there's mountains, there's castles, it's so intricate and so beautiful. And the amount of effort that goes into this, it's insane. I don't think any other type of play or any other type of game just requires so much, and people are so willing to do it. They love doing it.
You know what was super interesting to me during COVID, a lot of things, a lot of businesses went out and stuff, unfortunately. But down the street from me, there is a Warhammer store. As other businesses were just, even well-known businesses were just shutting down, that Warhammer store is still there. It made it through that whole pandemic, and I have been impressed ever since.
Because thanks to that store, a lot of people made it through the pandemic.
Probably. But it just always cracked me up. I'm like, man, it just pushed through. And it's nice. The tiniest little building. Like, it's just
they're tiny. They have like these endless catalogs, and all they need is a 3D printer and a laptop.
In D&D, I will say, piqued my interest, and eventually I plan to dive into both of those. I know they require dedication. I'm willing to give it because I just find them very, very fascinating. And especially with Warhammer, that's a chance to build masterpieces. You know, they're not just a collection. You're building a masterpiece. You're creating a whole.
Oh, I haven't. I don't think I've showed you my. I showed you the BattleTech stuff I bought, right? I recently bought a table and I finally put it all together. So I have like my terrain and all my figurines and stuff. And it's what's cool about games like that is you can play, like you can go through a storyline and just do it by yourself. Like you don't even need a group. A group would be more fun.
You can play by yourself.
I like tabletop games for that reason. Like
BattleTech, it's what I know is that it has a medieval part and then it has like a futuristic tech part, right?
It's a very dark, like dystopian sci-fi future world or universe.
Love that in Robots. A lot of their episodes through all of the seasons, they had a lot of episodes that were like this type of futuristic BattleTech. It was really interesting. I think maybe it is a good show. It's
I had never seen it actually up until a few months ago. I finally checked it out because everyone was telling me to
favorite
watch
episode.
It, and I was like, what's I don't know the name of the episode, but it has, I'm trying to remember there's these robots that are people, like they're like cyborgs, I guess.
I think I know the episode you're talking about.
It's been a few months. I think it was one of the first few episodes.
Was it? Okay, there's one where people go into like they put their consciousness into the body of these creatures.
Yes.
Yes,
that one.
And they have street fights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that one. That was it's the first episode. I don't remember what it was called, but it's actually do you remember the art style? You remember how it works, how it looks?
Yes.
Does it remind you of something? Because it immediately reminded me of something. The concept artist is the concept artist for Dishonored.
For the what?
For Dishonored?
For Dishonored.
What?
So it's the same. Let me show you.
That's so cool when you learn that certain people work on other projects, and you wind up loving both of them and not realizing why until after the fact.
I remember the reason I like that episode so much is I'm AI fascinates me, and all the things that we're doing today with talks of uploading consciousness through AI and robotics and neurochips. That stuff fascinates me, for better or worse, just in all directions. And that's why, and playing Cyberpunk, of course.
Cyberpunk, yeah.
So yeah, that's why it was one of my favorite episodes. I have not seen season 2 yet, though. I have not finished it.
Let me send you guys. Can I send photos on the chat?
That's a great question.
I don't see why not.
I don't know.
I think I'm pretty sure.
No, I can't. Well, anyways, the episode is called Sonny's Edge. Check if it's the one that you're talking about.
I was at season 1, right?
Let's see.
It's season 1, episode 1.
Do your homework. Look it up. Everyone pick your favorite episode. Me, anytime I like the ones that are horror related. So Night of the Mini Dead.
That was loud. It's full blast YouTube in my ears. Because I have like everything else kind of set to a certain volume because I'm loud. So I try to like match it. And then the YouTube was just super loud. Let's see.
Yeah. Horror related episodes always top the chart for me.
This was the one. I was just telling Greg too yesterday. I try to be better. I'm so bad with names, especially if it's something I haven't seen or messed with. And the only exception, I don't know why, is Game of Thrones and The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And it's probably only because I've reread, especially Lord of the Rings, and rewatched them so many times.
I'm actually good with like character names, game
Your
names.
recall is ridiculous.
Yeah. But ask me if I remember the name of someone I may have gone to school with. They'll remember me. I will not remember their name. I'll remember their face, but I will not remember their name. I'll be like, hey, you person.
Yeah, I
went to school
you don't
with.
have to say anything. You can just say, hey.
Yeah.
And that's enough. Hi, I haven't seen you in a while.
See you
Long
again.
time.
Do you think people notice that you go the whole conversation without saying their name?
No, I probably not, because I don't think I notice when someone has a conversation with me and not once says my name.
I have been called out on it once, and it was actually fairly recently, and I was very open about it, though. I told the person, it was actually a work, like a colleague, and I said, I don't remember your name, and I'm very sorry. Please don't take that personally. It's not because I don't care. It's just because in my brain I have just all this stuff.
A lot of things.
And then you show up and you're like, my name is, and I from there. So don't take it personally.
No room for.
Sometimes I ask. Sometimes I don't remember what someone's called, and they ask, what's your what do you like to be called? Like a pet, like a shortened version of their name, and they're like, Nick, and I'm like, so your name is Nikolai. From that I can, or Mimi, and I'm like, your name is Mariya. So I just ask, what do you like to be called? Like a pet name, and it usually suggests to their actual name. You can make the connection without being.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Embarrassed.
I still feel like you wouldn't remember, Daniel.
Probably not. The effort is there, I promise.
Yeah. You can see like the sadness in his eyes. And it's just like his facial expression gives it away. That's what it is. It's like,
yeah, I'm not good at lying, this is why masks are great.
When do you wear masks? When does that help you?
For work, sometimes when I'm interacting with patients and stuff. Sometimes wearing a mask helps me.
I was not thinking,
like if it's like a really rude, or just do people have different personalities, right? So just wearing a mask.
No, I was imagining you with the mask from the Scream Killer or something.
Oh God, no! You know what? I've actually always wanted to do like a little YouTube show called Dr. Bane from Batman. And he's just like, good morning, I see you have the flu again.
Would you you talk to your patients with the mask?
Like, yeah.
And you just film their reactions.
Yeah.
I thought he had forgotten about that.
This is my brain all day. It gets worse. This is just the surface.
Another thing.
And I can't share it with people at work, because people at work are very professional, as they should be. And I am, but I have to keep myself in check.
His own sanity.
Same with the burping.
See?
And the yawning. See, I am glad we had that conversation. So guys, if you're like me and you yawn when you're trying to sing, don't feel bad. And if you burp when you try to sing, don't feel bad. It's normal. It's normal, Daniel. It's normal. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know you have such a very busy schedule, so we don't want to keep you any longer, but I would really love to do that introduction to D&D episode in the future.
I would like to do that as well. Introduction to LARP.
And LARPing. Yeah, introduction to D&D, LARPing. That's yes. So we are gonna have to make that happen. But thank you for spending so much time with us, letting our listeners get to learn more about you. And where can they find?
Well, I have a YouTube channel where I will be uploading content. I'll be uploading covers or original music, and I already have some old stuff there from when I was younger. I use Instagram mostly. I use TikTok. I made a LinkedIn for the first time like 2 days ago. I don't think it's for artists. I think it's for like finding an office job.
Yeah.
But anyways,
yeah.
I'm just gonna send you. You can post the socials. But I am mostly active on Instagram and TikTok, and I will hopefully be more active on YouTube. And I also might Twitch. I haven't started yet, but I am thinking of. Since my laptop doesn't Baldur's Gate 3 past the second act, so I've only played Act 1 and Act 2, and after that I've watched Let's Plays.
Mm.
So I was thinking of having, well, maybe if we can do that, somebody plays Baldur's Gate 3 and we're on live chat, and I just tell them what to do and what choices to make, because I can't. Because I can't do it myself.
I would be 100% for that. I already have a streaming setup. Daniel, you can commentate, and we could just do like a round table thing.
It can be fun. It can be really fun.
That would actually, you know what? Let's make a note for that because Daniel knows I'm think a lot. So I think out all of my choices. So having the control taken from me would bring him so much joy to see my reaction.
Yes.
Because if I'm just the instrument, I can't hide like my reaction if I don't agree with the choice, but I have to make that choice. So
cool.
Oh, I would look forward to bothering you in every possible way.
Oh, yeah, we could try to make that happen. I am totally for that idea.
That would be fun. Also, this experience, it's really nice. It doesn't feel like an interview. It feels super. It's very chill. We're having a conversation. We're discussing. We're sharing with each other, and everybody has something to add to every topic. It's very fun. It's very enjoyable.
Thank you.
I'm glad that was your experience.
Yes,
of course.
That's what we shoot for. We just want to meet people and have experiences and learn and just have a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
One of the main things is, everyone, they see a music artist and then everyone, it's like, it becomes a drill. It's like question. And it's like, no, they're people too. They, let's learn about you. What are you into? So
yeah.
Definitely hoping we can do this again in the very, very near future. So
hopefully,
once again,
yes.
Thank you so much. And everyone who's been tuning in, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, follow the GZ Chop Shop podcast. And who should we reach out to next? I'm willing to put my heart on the line and send more cold emails. So make some suggestions. You never know. They might pop up on the show. Anyway, you guys have been amazing. Take care of yourself and each other. And we will catch all of you wonderful people on the next podcast.